The same way you own property, you can own a song. That's just copyrights. Exactly.
Yeah. So the next time you hear a song on radio, very simply put, it's the right to copy. You can actually just look at the name and guess what it is. It's the right to copy. That means if this thing belongs to you, you have the right.
So ideally, if a movie wants to use a track, they would have to now move from the producer to who now?
Because you only know a handful. Give me your piece of work, I'll show all the million people that I know, and I'll make sure they bring us money. That's what, very, very simply put, that's what a publisher would ideally be saying.
Hello and welcome to the Sisters-in-Law podcast. My name is Beverly Mokaya and I'm here with
Aquila Mokaya in this podcast to discuss matters law.
From talking about contract law, employment law, commercial law, tax law, and generally matters law, we've got you covered.
Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.
So on today's episode, we are back with Emma, our IP, I'll just call you an expert. Our intellectual property expert. We were with her a few episodes ago. We talked about copyrights and trademarks, if you guys remember. And we're here to talk about something that I'll let you know after she introduces herself. So Emma, you can go ahead and introduce yourself again.
Hi, hello everyone. Hi Sisters-in-Law. I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me. My name is Julia Tema. I am an intellectual property lawyer, an advocate of the High Court as well. And I enjoy learning and teaching people.
Yeah, so we're glad to have you on set. So now, on today's episode, we're going to talk about copyrights in music, like how the whole process of composing, how you bring in producers, how you bring in record labels, and how all those people intertwine in their relationship, because it's very important for people to know that in this era. Because if you've noticed, people are moving away from just being the normal professionals, a lawyer, a doctor, and you're getting into the creative space. And I think it's very important because as an area develops, that means conflicts develop with it.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to manage your relationships with your producers and with your singers, your background voices and all that, you will get into a lot of legal problems, especially because this area is really developing.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here to talk about today, and I hope that you will enjoy and learn. Yeah. So where do we start? Rights in music.
Like what types of rights exist in music? Who holds the specific type of right, and how can we differentiate?
Okay, so rights in music are only slightly complicated, but it's important to start from understanding where a song comes from. Many times when you say song, you think about the thing that you're gonna hear on radio or on a streaming platform. That's what you think of when you hear a song. But there's that much more to the song than meets the ear. Because before the song was something that you could do with your ears, it was first lyrics. At some point it was
just words.
Just words. At some point it was just the composition. Someone just decided this is exactly how I want the piano to sound. But this is exactly how I want the violin to sound. So at some point it was only just that. And then at some point it was maybe that plus the composition plus then someone decided to say, now I have this thing that looks just like a pond. I want it to start like this, and then I want this to be the bridge. I want this to be the chorus, and this is how they're going to follow each other. So all that existed before anyone ever went to studio to decide that they're going to now record that piece of work that they've created. That's one part of rights in music that exists. Now, if I won't say we recall, but history tells us, kitambo, before people figured out that you can record something, you can record music and have it in that particular form of a sound recording, people used to listen to music live. Like you'd have a composer come to your house if you are really wealthy, perhaps. You'd go to a club and listen to someone sing. But there wasn't technology for that to be fixated in a way that can travel further. Yeah. So now that's what the sound recording does. With the invention of what was called a phonogram, it enables people to record and now fixate that recording in a tangible form that can now be distributed to other places.
Yeah.
This is now the second part of rights that exist in a music, what's called the sound recording. Now, generally those are the two. The other thing that now perhaps we should mention is when you look at a song, there are majorly two sets of rights. There's the copyright and the neighboring rights. Remember we said at some point we had the lyrics, we had a composition and we had an arrangement.
Yeah.
Now that is usually protected under copyright. But we have also agreed that it will be very difficult for us to enjoy a song that's on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So everyone that contributes to bring this piece of paper to life in a way that we can hear and enjoy, now that person is given what's called neighboring rights. In other words, it's called related rights. They are not exactly the thing, but they neighbor or they are relatives. It's like your relatives. They are not you, but they help to make you who you are.
Yeah.
That's sort of what rights exist in a song. Yeah.
So now, who owns the neighboring rights? Like, I would like you to break down who owns the copyright and who also owns the neighboring rights. Yeah.
And even before you do that, I think if someone did not watch the previous episode, they should go back and watch it. But generally, copyrights is just the rights that...
Very simply put, it's the right to copy. You can actually just look at the name and guess what it is. It's the right to copy.
Yeah.
That means if this thing belongs to you, you have the right to decide what happens to it.
Exactly.
How it's going to be used.
Yeah.
If it's going to make money. And if it makes money, who is allowed to make money with it? Whether you or someone else.
So the same way you own property, you can own a song. That's just copyrights.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next time you hear a song on radio, now you understand that there's more than what you're hearing. There's many more people who may have come to contribute to see this thing come to life. And you've asked a good question. Now, who owns these parts of the song? The copyright, which you've said has the lyrics, has the composition, and has the arrangement. Usually, the lyrics will be owned by the person who wrote.
Who wrote it?
Called the author
Yeah.
or the writer. The composition will be owned by the composer. This is the person. It could be one person, it could be different people, but this is ideally the person who writes the music. And by the music, I mean, remember how, I don't know, I think they would still exist in music, in the things we used to sing in church, hymn books, or, yeah, they are called musical score sheets. So there's usually words here on top, and then there's like 2 lines. I'm sure if you're a music person, you know exactly what I'm saying. There's 2 lines, and then there's 2 squiggly lines. They look like hammers. I don't know. Inverted B's, B with a very shaded in.
Yeah.
So the composer is the person who comes.
I'm trying to remember the name, quavers and things like that. Yeah.
That's very thing.
Yeah.
That's the work of the composer. The arranger now, like I said, will decide. This is how fast the music is gonna go. This is how slow. They're gonna say this is the first stanza, but if we end it here, it doesn't sound right. So let's bring a bridge here so that the song sounds really nice. That's an arranger. These 3 people are who own the copyright: the composer, the arranger, and the lyricist or the writer or the author. Those are the people that own them. Now, these 3 rights sometimes, again going back to Kitambo, and even just logically, I only know a handful of people. If I wrote my lyrics and I have my piece of music and it's really awesome, but I don't know that many people, so how do I get other people to use this song so that I get money? So then comes someone called a publisher. A publisher is a person who administers the copyright. By administration, it means me as a publisher, I'm claiming to know 1 million people. And because you only know a handful, give me your piece of work, I'll show all the 1 million people that I know, and I'll make sure they bring us money. That's what, very, very simply put, that's what a publisher would ideally be saying.
Okay.
So now that's to do with copyright. And on the other side, for the related rights, we've said there's gonna be the vocalist who brings the lyrics to life.
So like the singer.
Yes.
Yeah.
The person who's gonna be singing. There's gonna be the musicians. These are the people who are gonna play our composition that had been written down nicely in the 2 lines. That's the musician. There's gonna be actually that's the major 2. Now
The musician is like the instrumentalist, the pianist, the guitarist. Okay.
Yeah. Now you could opt to have the entire orchestra come and then you record, or if it doesn't make sense, there's no software to do those things. So, and there are people who know how to do those things. Sometimes you may not even know what the composition looks like. You just have the lyrics, and you know this is how it's going to be arranged, but you don't know what it's going to look like. There are people called track producers. So they know how to come up with those tracks. They can come up with a beat for you. They can come up with a chord progression for you that works for the song. So these people, the person who comes up, now you see, this person who came up with the chord progression, see they have jumped to copyright even though you met them in a studio. Because when you came in, you didn't have the composition, but they came up with the composition for you. So many times track producers also enjoy copyright.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are the people that there are. And the other set of people that enjoy neighboring rights are the producer or the record label. Basically, these are the people that invest into making sure the sound recording exists. Yeah. So the producer is going to put in their expertise. They're going to give you their studio. They're going to give you their equipment, make sure their equipment is up and running, and then after you've recorded, they'll do what they call mixing and mastering. So that is to make sure that the song sounds well, everything is well balanced, you see. So now then they enjoy also neighboring rights. All these people we've mentioned, all of them own a piece of
your song.
Of a song. Any song that you hear, they own a piece of it because of what they did. Think of it like baking. Someone comes with flour, someone comes with an egg, someone comes with milk, someone comes with the oven. I mean, because you came with the egg, you can't say I'm running away with the entire cake. Because there's also someone who came with flour, there's someone who came with milk, there's someone who gave you the oven.
Recipe also.
So all of you, all of you are gonna have, you're gonna have to share a bit of this cake. Yeah, that's I guess a simple way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd just like to, just before we even continue, what are the limits? So let's say we've said the producer is in the neighboring rights, yeah? So what if you pay the producer? Like say, I would like for you to break down the aspect of, I'm coming to pay, I'll pay some fees to use your studio, and also you still want to own some rights in this still music that you are still going to produce.
Yeah.
Because you made us understand just right before the episode that they can still be paid initially, and then they still have, they still own, quote unquote, with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then before you answer that, it's because now also the producers, let's say instrumentalists, because I know when you go to sing with these guys, they pay you, they pay the instrumentalists, they pay the BGVs, the background voices, they also pay the producer. So now, if I have paid you to do this for me, why do you still own rights?
Yeah. That brings up a very important aspect of copyright law. It's called work made for hire or commissioned work. This is work that I called you specifically to come and do it. It didn't exist before. So those people that you call, whether it's the vocalist, whether it's the producer, whoever you call, and you make it clear that this is a work made for hire, it follows that they don't own any rights, because that's what the law says. For a work made for hire, the person who owns the rights is the person who paid you. So that's clear. So, but you see, music is rather unique because of, again, the rights that we talked about. Remember, we talked about the copyright and the neighboring rights. That's why it's very important when you're bringing in a vocalist, make it clear. Are they gonna retain any of their performance rights? And because if you say then they are going to retain some of their performance rights, that brings in royalty conversation. But if you're saying it's completely a work made for hire and you're not retaining any performance rights, therefore there are no performance royalties. The same for the producer. When you're going to meet with a producer, then ask them, this fee you're giving me, is it a buyout rate? So that at the end of the day, you're giving me my sound recording and I go home knowing, tumemalizana, this is my own thing. That's a very important question to ask, because there could be a difference between, okay, maybe you are giving me this money because I spent time to come here, I spent, just to reimburse me for my troubles. That's an option. Yeah, so it's very important to ask. When you're given a rate by a producer, ask them, is this a buyout? If it's not a buyout, then that means they expect to, they're gonna own the sound recording. Usually the sound recording, the thing that we've said is created in studio, belongs either to the producer or to the record label. So that means they will be the person in charge of distributing it, exploiting it to make sure that it comes back with money. So every time, for example, a movie wants to use the sound recording as a soundtrack, they're going to speak to the label or to the producer. Therefore, a buyout means the producer is going to give up their right to owning the sound recording which they just created. You see? So that's why it's very important to ask them if this is a buyout. If it's a buyout, then the producer understands at the back of their mind, I don't expect to ever get any
royalties.
money. I don't expect to ever make money again from this sound recording. Therefore, it can't just be I paid you, so therefore that's it. Because of that particular contribution, it's very important to be clear.
So ideally, you're saying that the producers can sell their rights to you, quote unquote.
Yes, anyone can sell their right to you, quote unquote. It's what we call licensing or assignment. So they can choose to assign that particular right that they had, their right in ownership of the sound recording. They can choose to assign it to you, and you become the owner of the sound recording.
So ideally, if a movie wants to use a track, they would have to now move from the producer to who now? To the author?
Whoever buys. It could be the author, it could be the composer. It depends. But usually, we may have mentioned this in the other episode, but generally copyright gives you an economic right and a moral right. You might recall this like that. So the moral right means you have to be attributed to the work that you made. That's why every time you see a song, a movie, you see the people who did what they did. So many times you'll see a song and it will give you information on who actually owns it.
Yeah.
So therefore, if the producer says, fine, I'm going to assign it to you, I'll agree it was work made for hire and I'm not going to own the sound recording, then it's going to say, whatever you distribute, it's going to say clearly who therefore owns it.
Okay.
So in short, by default, the producer owns a part of the song, like the sound recording, as you said.
In fact, the producer or the record label own the sound
recording itself.
Yes. But because, like we said, for a cake, the cake would not exist if someone hadn't brought an egg, if someone hadn't brought milk, if someone hadn't brought flour. So because you brought these things, that sound recording which belongs to the label or the producer cannot make money and you don't get a share. Because you also contribute.
You wrote the song, literally. Yeah.
I hope that's a clear distinction.
It's clear, but I think, what I was going to ask is, by default, the producer owns the sound recording unless you agree otherwise. So that's where contracts come in. But if there's no contract and anything ever comes up, the producer owns the sound recording.
Precisely. So that's why it comes in. And when you say contract, I don't mean like a 30-page document to say this. That's why I was saying, when you go to approach a producer, ask them, this rate that you're giving me, does it include a buyout? Let them be very clear, because the buyout is now the money you're paying to own the sound recording. Preferably, actually, I would highly recommend that this be in writing, because the law requires any assignment of copyright has to be in writing. So if the producer agrees and says this is a buyout rate, put it down on paper so that it's clear, and also so that just for your peace of mind.
So now let's just go to registration. Do we have to register? Like, do we have to register the copyright? I know we had spoken about something like that in our previous episode, but I'd like for you to shed light on if we're registering the copyright, for example, how to agree. I know we're going to speak about contracts in a separate episode, but how are we going to distribute if let's say it's 100%, right? Like 100% ownership of the copyright, and we have the neighboring rights and the copyright rights now. How are they distributed?
Okay, so now that brings in, see, understanding this thing that we just did is really important, because then that informs any issues of ownership. It's also going to inform what's called a split sheet. If you've gone to record music before, it's possible you are given a split sheet at some point. That split sheet determines how royalties are going to be shared. Yeah. Now, to your question regarding registration, that comes down to the owner of the sound recording and the owner of the copyright. If the copyright, we said the copyright belongs to the author, composer, or the arranger, that's the person who will register the copyright. The sound recording belongs to the other person, that's the person who will register the copyright. The sound recording, sorry. Yeah. I think the rest we will start to touch on when we talk about exploitation of these rights that now you know exist, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and also how do you ensure, as you, assuming you're very passionate about Bev's music and you would like to do something with it, how do you make sure you don't get in trouble? Yeah.
Oh, that's where things like covers come in, and what's that word?
Sampling. You have heard of it, yeah.
You short derivatives?
Yes, derivative works, yeah.
Okay. So that's it. Is there anything you'd like to add, let's say background rights or whatever, for a musician to know? Before we get into all that, now the murky waters.
Stuff.
Before we get into the murky waters, I just say, have this, just know this at the back of your mind. Know what belongs to you, so that you don't face a producer and then they tell you something. Or you as a producer, an artist doesn't come into your office and tells you something and you're not sure if it's true or not. So understanding this basic would really explain, would really help you know what can I actually own, what can you actually give to someone, you see. Yeah.
And I think most of them don't know. Yeah?
I'm glad we're here.
Anyway, I think we should, the rest of the things we should just talk about it in a whole other episode, because if we start now, the episode will be too long. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and see you in the next part of this series.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.